client told me about his father who lived with him and he was caring for him, who suffered from dementia. So his father would repeat the same questions over and over again. And this would piss my client off. And he wouldn't know what to do with it because he's like, this is pissing me off, but I can't get angry at my dad. Like, he's got dementia. It's not his fault. Like, what do I do with this energy that's coming up? And it's a really, really great question. How do I allow anger without harming myself or harming others? Because there tends to be two ways that we've been taught to deal with anger. One is just to hold it in. It's like your anger is bad and it's not allowed. So you should repress it. And just pretend everything's fine. Just do what you got to do to gloss over the situation, maybe fawn or people please. And this is really painful though, because you're being inauthentic. You're disconnecting from what's true for you, from your true feelings, from your true expression. And actually you need that anger to be like a whole assertive, effective agent in the world, right? Your anger is your life force that helps you set boundaries and go out there and do stuff. If you continuously repress your anger, you kind of end up as a bit of a weak, inauthentic kind of person who who's afraid of expressing themselves, of pursuing what they want in life. You can kind of feel that on people sometimes where they don't really have access to that sense of solidity within them. That's what happens if you continuously repress your anger in order to keep, other people happy or, avoid conflict. Conversely, the other way people do it is the other extreme is to, whenever they get triggered and anger comes up, rather than pushing it down, it spills over the top. So they lash out at other people, yelling, slamming doors and losing their temper, right? It explodes like a volcano. And that is equally harmful, but to other people. So it's harming all those other people, right? And it's harmful to you because you're ruining all your relationships, with your family, your friends, at work. And anger is so important because it's such a powerful energy. If you've ever really felt your anger, like it's so intense that's why repressing it, you're having to hold in, using so much energy to hold in this anger energy, or it's causing so much damage, spewing everywhere. And you can see that in society, you see so much damage caused by anger going everywhere in our politics, in the wars that we see. You could see it in so many different ways. So the key to this middle way, you could say, is making it about, it's just you and this part of you that is angry. So it's not about the other person. It's not about the situation. You're not holding it in to keep someone happy, or you're not lashing out to try and, push someone else away. It's just you and this part of you. Secondly, it's really important to drop the kind of story, trying to balance the narrative. It's like, often we're like, well, is this anger reasonable? Like, should I be feeling angry at this person? Is it true what this anger is saying? And this is predicated on a misunderstanding of what emotions are. We kind of sometimes think, I should be able to choose what I'm feeling. But we don't recognize that our emotions are A, we don't get to choose what our feelings are, they just arise. And B, the vast majority of our feelings are historical. Because we have been repressing anger our entire lives, there have been so many places throughout our whole childhood where we felt helpless, or things weren't going our way, or our mum and dad weren't paying attention to us. And when we feel hurt or helpless in these ways, anger comes in to protect us. But that anger is also not allowed by society. Our parents don't allow it, our schools don't allow it, our workplaces don't allow it. So that rage that comes in to take control and protect you from feeling helpless, as you have done, as is inevitable when you're a tiny fleshy meat bag in a vast universe, that's just pushing you this way and that, you feel helpless all the time. And there's so much rage that we've repressed because of that. And then when a small little thing in life happens, it triggers that whole lifetime of rage to come to the surface, right? And so we think we can, choose how to respond to this moment. But actually what's happening is that someone will trigger us, they'll say something, and there's a whole lifetime of anger that comes to the surface that we have no choice in that matter. We can only be honest about it or not. So this second part is just being really honest about what's here. It helps to frame it in the language of parts. So then it doesn't seem like it's the whole of you. If you say like, I am angry and I hate you, it feels so absolute. Whereas if you say like, I notice there's a part of me here that's angry, it gives you more space to be truthful about what's there. And then you want to just really acknowledge, like, okay, this part of me is really frustrated. It wants that person to fuck off. It wants them to stop doing what they're doing. It hates them. All this kind of stuff. Again, not saying this is true. Just because this part of you is saying this doesn't mean it's true. This is just a part of you that's trying to protect you and trying to survive, and it's doing so in quite an extreme way, right? But it's so important to acknowledge what's here, the feeling of anger and those things that it wants to say. So spend some time. What you want to do is, after you've dealt with the situation, you don't want to try and start dealing with anger straight away in the middle of a situation. You want to just deal with it as reasonably as you can, then take yourself away afterwards, and then start investigating it in your own time, in the privacy of your own home, or a toilet cubicle at work, or whatever you can find. Then just sit down and just acknowledge, try and figure out what's going on. Where am I feeling this anger? Is it in my chest? Is it in my, maybe I feel a burning in my chest. Do I feel a heaviness in my stomach? Do I feel tension in my shoulders? Right? That's where anger actually lives in the body. Then it's starting to acknowledge, what does this thing want to say? What does it want to do? It might be like, I hate that person. I want them to die. I never want to see them again. Whatever it is. And again, there might be some quite extreme statements in there. There often are. It's got nothing to do with reality or that person. It's forget about those people. It's just you and this part of you, and just being honest about what's there. And then it can be helpful to start to let the anger move. So really, really containing it. By that, I mean that you can be present with the feeling in your body, and you can let it move. You can let the fists clench. You can let the jaw clench. You can let the hands push away. Now, what's important here is that you have enough capacity to be with this experience. Many of us are not used to feeling our feelings, and our nervous system doesn't have enough capacity to be with an emotion so intense as anger. And so you might need to build up to this. There are much more details on how this works, on how to do this, in some other content I've created. I have a blog called How to Feel Your Feelings, and a video as well by the same name. I'll link those down below. There's also a blog on, I call it The Ultimate Guide to Repressed Anger, which goes into more details around working with anger specifically. So I won't go into too many more details here, but the essence of what we want to do is not repress, not act out. Take yourself out of the situation and acknowledge the truth of your feelings and thoughts privately, and let them come up, let them be felt, let whatever sounds and words need to come out, knowing that they're not the truth in some absolute sense, but they're just a relative expression of this part of you that's trying to keep you safe and protect you. And you'll notice if you keep doing that, you will over time get less reactive, and you'll be able to bring some skill into the world. When you first start exploring this work, you'll have a whole lifetime's worth of repressed anger built up. That explains why you explode so violently, right? People keep poking you until why is it so big? Just because it's an accumulated lifetime of rage. And as you start working through it, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and you get less reactive. And then you can start being more mature in situations and bringing in some skills. You can maybe allow a little bit of anger in a certain situation, and you'll find that your anger is much more proportionate to the situation, because it's just like more fresh anger that's spontaneously responding to the situation, rather than a big pile of historical anger, which is actually about a situation in the past that the present situation is reminding you of. I think I'll leave it there. The main message is that this middle way is possible, and that it's really desirable because it's allowing you to be really authentic, to integrate your anger, to you're not disconnecting from it. You're letting it move, letting it be heard and felt, but without it spilling over the edges into harming other people. And over time, you feel more and more whole and more sort of effective and solid in the world, because you're integrating more and more of this anger into yourself. I hope that helps. Any questions, comment below, and I'll see you soon. Bye.